Texas, we've got Region 13. We've got Erica Garza and Josh Mitchell that are going to talk to you about teacher certification and assignments.
All right, good morning. I hope you all are doing well today. Happy Friday, almost there. So we're going to talk a little bit about teacher certification and spend probably about an hour here getting through that. There's a lot to teacher certification. It's kind of this big sort of area that all of us have to kind of wrap our heads around, and it takes some time to get. I've been on this job for 4 months, and I'm still learning, and I'm getting it down. I've got a fantastic mentor, Erica. She's been helping me along the way and guiding me as to what I need to know about teacher certification. And during this process, I know you won't remember everything, but know that once you get back to your schools, that you have us as a resource. We brought some business cards today, and it's an opportunity to take those back to your campuses and give us a call, and we are more than happy to help you out with whatever you need. And in addition to that, today also Erica is going to be going around the room, and we worked in a few areas for questions and answers, and we'll see if we can hopefully get to your questions as best we can throughout the presentation. But to get started today, one of the big things that we have to kind of consider is that there is no teaching certificate called just career and technical education. I have a lot of people that still call us. They ask us, you know, what is career and tech? I need a career and tech certification. And we ask that all of you as our new leaders in the community, please spread that word and let everybody know that there are specific areas within CTE. So once we look at CTE, we've got our umbrella, and under that umbrella we have a whole barrage of different types of certifications that fit in there. And in addition to those certifications that fit within there, you're also going to see that some of these areas have a lot of different sub-certifications within them. And we'll look at examples such as trades and industrial education and how many different areas fit within there. Now, Diane was just talking a minute ago about the teacher assignment chart, and this will be uploaded, our presentation will be uploaded onto LiveBinder. There's a lot of links in here that can get you to a lot of those resources that you might need to see. And we've linked up the teacher assignment chart, and I just thought I would just show that to you for a minute. Once you get to the certification page, there it is. Teacher assignment chart is going to be right at the bottom there, and it's going to pull up in a PDF, and it's a pretty large PDF. And I usually just look for about page 40 in there, but there is a section, you'll see Career and Technical Education Part 2, and if you click on that, it's going to take you to all the career and tech teacher assignments. And there's multiple pages of this, of course, because as I mentioned, there's a lot of different trades and industrial areas. So it'll walk through each one of the classes, and it'll give you some ideas of what teachers and what certification areas can teach these so that your school district is in compliance with certification rules. All right, so the next question is, how do I get a new CTE teacher certified? So how do we get them going? And what we're going to do right now is we're going to go through all the different certification areas and just kind of what they look like. Now, the first one that kind of comes up is, I have a teacher that's already has a standard certification. Can they take the test? Can they challenge the test and become certified in an area? Well, for these different areas here, when we look at our ag science, our business ed, our family consumer science areas, there's actually two others that fall under family consumer science. That's at hospitality and human development. And our tech ed people, if somebody holds a standard certificate, they can challenge these different tests and become certified if they have that 1 year of experience under their belt. And what I've done is I've actually linked to the additional certification page on here that TEA has up. Sorry, drop downs are getting in my way. That TEA has up that kind of explains that process for teachers to do that and how they would go about getting into those certification exams. Now, one of the things we did want to point out before we get into each one of these certification areas is that there is a name change that the tests are undergoing. This means that not only is the name changing, but probably some components of these tests are changing slightly as well. And as of right now, there's actually 2 tests that are being offered for some of these different content areas. You'll see on the right side, you'll see the old names there. It looks like the screen got cut off a little bit, but you can kind of get the gist there. But you'll see the old names are off to the right, and then off to the left, you'll see the new names that we are that we are going to at this point. And, excuse me, I'm sorry, the old names are on the left and the new names are on the right. And as these tests expire in 2016 on the left and we migrate over to the right, you'll see a little bit of a difference in the name of the certifications that are going to be given out based on these areas. Our first one we're going to look at is our ag sciences. So in our ag sciences, our areas where no prior teaching experience or no prior experience is required, each person has to take a content exam in these areas, and for initial certification, the teacher may come in with a bachelor's degree, and we can admit them as long as they have the credits on transcript, and then based on those transcripted credits, then that teacher in the fall time, once they are in a EPP program or educator prep program, they will have the opportunity to take that content exam and pass it as part of their certification year when they are going through a alternative teaching certification. Now at the bottom you will notice that for additional certification you'll see it talks about the TECSES and the AAFCS. There's actually two different exam areas where teachers will go. For the majority of our CTE teachers, they'll be taking the TECSES exams, and for our family consumer sciences teachers, they actually take a different exam that runs through the American Association of Family and Consumer Sciences. So it looks just a little bit different for some of those.
And just so you guys know, as he's talking through these, on your sheet that you had, those vanilla colored great reference tool for you guys to use on that back side of that handout.
Yeah, and you'll see some of those certification areas in there. Just realize that these certification areas do not require work experience, okay? So that's one of the key things with these. So no work experience is required. We look at transcripted credit for these. Now, looking at our next few certification areas here, our next three, we have health science, marketing, and the trades and industrial certification. And these three do require some previous work experience to be documented. Once again, on the left, you'll see that there's going to be the old name that is going to expire in 2016, and we are phasing toward a new test and a new certification by 2016. So it's slowly being phased in right now. This is the first year. Some of those new tests have been offered for standard certification. So just something to kind of consider as your teachers are moving on, that health science technology, for example, is going to change to health science.
The other example, I'm sorry, we just have really quick start. So now what's changed this year is you see on the left, it was 812. Those, they're going to be certified 612, not just 812.
And it really opens up a lot more opportunities for those teachers to, teach across a much wider grade range, which is nice. So I think it's a really good addition at this point. Now, when it comes to work experience, one of the big things that we have our teachers do is there is a form called the SOQ, and that stands for Statement of Qualifications. And once again, I linked to it on our page. I'm not going to go to it, but basically it outlines the work experience that a teacher has, any certifications they might have within that area, and it just collects some just kind of basic biographical information about them. But you'll see for each one of these, and we're going to go through these one step at a time, but there's a different year of requirements for each one of these certification areas, and we'll talk through them. Probably the most confusing is that trades and industrial, but I promise it'll make more sense here in just a minute. Now, with that SOQ, in the state of Texas code, if a teacher is required to fill out an SOQ to become certified in one of those areas, a 2-year pay step upgrade is written into law that they should be able to get that there. So just keep that in mind. If a teacher asks about that, they are eligible for that because they do have that work experience that comes in there. Now, how the district sets up the rest of your compensation plans and gives teacher extra years, that's totally up to your district. But do know that for any area with an SOQ, that a 2-year pay step upgrade is written in law for them. Now, there is 2 ways to become certified for marketing. The first one is certificate by exam. If a teacher holds a standard certificate and has 2 years of marketing experience, that teacher can actually become certified in marketing by taking the exam. Now, what that entails is that there's actually a section on here I linked to on TEA, but the teacher does have to complete an SOQ. That SOQ is collected by the district. The district sends that to TEA, so it's on file, and then TEA approves that person to become qualified to take the certification exam. Okay, so you'll see that the district reviews it, sends it to TEA, and then after that, the candidate can sign up for that test online to take it. Okay, so this is for our teachers that already hold a standard certificate. Okay, so they are able to get that marketing exam afterwards.
Okay, can you go back to the health science?
Sure.
Because that is, I don't know about anybody else, is there some value
Well-
to the subject test?
Yeah, so if you, we're not quite there yet with health science, but I think he was just explaining on here, but the state requirement is 2 years of full-time wage earning experience in the healthcare industry and with a current license. But they have to hold a current license that they utilize for that experience. So there is some difference in the way that what jobs would qualify in healthcare industry, and that's up to the educator preparation program to determine you know, what eligibility is there and how that would transfer over into teaching. But the minimum is 2 years of full-time wage earning experience with a licensure in healthcare industry.
We'll talk a little bit more about health science here in just a minute, but with marketing, there is also a second pathway in which teachers can get certified to teach marketing, and that is through initial certification. So this is for our teachers that don't hold that standard certificate yet, and those teachers, if they have a bachelor's degree in 2 years of full-time wage earning experience, they can work with an educator prep program, or that EPP on there in that acronym, and based on their work during the school year with the educator prep program, and if they pass their TEXES exam for marketing and also the PPR, they can become certified to teach marketing at your schools. Okay. Now the next two are a little bit different in the fact that even if a teacher holds a standard certificate in these next two areas, that they still have to go through an educator prep program for our health science and our trades and industry teachers. So even if we had a science teacher who's been teaching for 3 or 4 years and has that healthcare background and wants to switch over to health science, they do still have to go through that educator prep program according to Texas code. Let's start off a little bit first with our health science. For our health science candidates, they have to have at least a bachelor's or an associate's degree, either or would work. The health science candidate has to have a certification in healthcare, and it has to be current. And that's one of those things we check. There's lots of good sites out there where we can check that stuff and make sure it is up to date, or we have the candidate submit that to us. So that does have to be up to date. There has to be 2 years of full-time wage earning experience that is documented on that SOQ. All right, so that's our next step. And then the candidate has to complete the educator prep program and teach in their assignment, their health science assignment, for 1 year. You'll see at the bottom they have to pass 2 exams. It's the health science exam and the PPR exam. What I thought we would do right now is take a moment. One of the biggest problems a lot of our districts have is recruiting and retaining some of our health science teachers, and it is very hard. We work very hard with our health science teachers to try and keep them into our programs and in our schools. And what I'd like to do is take about 2 minutes, and I'd like you to discuss with your table what are some ways that you are recruiting and retaining health science teachers in your district. Okay, let's take 2 minutes. And if I could have your attention back up here, please. Before we move on from health science and looking at that, the big thing with health science, remember, is they still have to go through that educator prep program, and that 2 years of experience is required as well as a certification and the associate's or bachelor's degree. Is there any questions about health science before we move on?
Okay, would anybody like to share some kind of best practices? Some of you guys that have been in the CTE world for a little bit, about how do you kind of recruit or retain health science?
So I work at Pine Tree ISD in Longview, and really, we've been building our health science program for the last few years, and it's to the point now where it's so big that I'm turning students away. I mean, it is a really, really big and vibrant program. I've got 2 gyms, and we just won the lottery with them because they're both moms, and they both have children in school that they want to be on their schedule, and they both got tired of the 50, 60, 70-hour, you can never work enough hours that, you know, they were just kind of burned in the nursing thing. So what we did is we got, honestly, we got lucky with the first, and then we used the first to recruit the second and said, here's the advantages of working in the school, here's the programs we could build. And when we interviewed our second, we interviewed her with the mindset of, we don't want you to come teach health science, we want you to come be a part of this building of this program. Here's where the vision is, and here's where we're going, and here are the things that we think you can accomplish here. So like I was telling my table, I just let those 2 ladies fly like birds, and I just knock out the barriers when they get to them, and they've just blown it up. So I think you have to appeal. You can't appeal to the money, but I think you have to appeal to look at what you get to be a part of. You can use your experience to help the future, and if you can get somebody in there that wants those kind of hours, it's a very, very cool deal if you can get them in. So again, there might be a little bit of luck involved, which I know that we did get, but if you can ever get that going, you can use one to recruit the other if you get a chance to get a second.
I think that whole thing, I'm putting the word out in the hospital. If you're looking for someone with a nursing background to come in and do health science, it's a real reasonable thing. That's how I got my first health science teaching job. Somebody came out to the hospital and said, Carolyn is looking for a teacher. So, that can be a great. Yeah, so you definitely utilize your resources there. I think they both gave some great examples. I know it's a problem that a lot of districts are facing, and we get a lot of calls about it. But I think, whatever you can do to promote all of the great vision, the plans, what are they going to be teaching, how they can utilize their expertise is going to be key, and really getting them hooked into wanting to make that transition into teaching. Because once they do, the light bulb goes off, and then they realize that this is an amazing transformation opportunity for them. So it's like hook, line, and sinker, like he mentioned. Really make sure that they have a full picture of what they're going to be doing and how they can be a part of something even bigger and making a more of an impact.
Most of the health sciences come with a teaching background. That's a necessary part of healthcare delivery, so that's an advantage when you're transitioning someone into the classroom from that background.
And that's a great point. So one more thing to kind of piggyback, because I know I did not go to college to be a teacher, and so I actually went through our alternative certification program at Region 13 to get certified. So I'm on that end where I came from that industry, and my background is family consumer sciences. But one thing that I try to really instill in our teachers is that take your skill set that you have and teach them how to transition that into the classroom. There's teaching in everything, every field that they do. In healthcare, wherever they're coming from, they've taught somebody something to get there. And helping them realize their potential and how to transition those skills is really key, because they need to feel that success. Healthcare is one of the industries where we notice our teachers struggle with, they're perfectionists. There's a right and a wrong answer for everything that they do in that field. And when they come to education, it's a little bit more open to interpretation. So any support from the district level that you can give them to help them transition and mentor them, make sure they have a strong mentor, those are all key components of retaining them and keeping them on those campuses.
And I'll piggyback on the mentorship part. I'm coming out of the health science classroom as well, and when I had a new teacher come in and I was leading up that health science department, I really put forth the effort to try and mentor those teachers and go above and beyond for them, and it made a big difference in retaining them at our high school.
We have one more.
Yeah.
Okay, so we lost both of our HST teachers on the same day, the first week of school, and we were desperately recruiting everywhere. It's reduced me to going to the pharmacy and saying, how do you like your job? So we found two, but right when we were doing all of this recruitment, I got an email from our ESC specialist, and it came from TEA, and it was about HB 2205 and how districts, or it says the school board may issue district teaching permit to a person who will teach only non-core academic CTE. You're familiar with this, right?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that here in a few minutes.
Okay, because if this isn't true, then, or if we can't abide by this, then those 2 teachers that we interviewed and are putting before the board won't work.
Sure, I understand.
and
Yeah,
we're-
we'll go through the steps on that here in a few
Okay,
minutes.
thank you.
Any other thoughts, comments? All right, yeah, we'll get back to the new House bill here in just a few minutes. Moving away from health science, our last big certification area is trades and industrial education. Trades and industrial education encompasses a lot of different areas. This could be your auto tech teachers, this could be your criminal justice teachers, your culinary teachers, you can even fit graphic arts within here. This has a lot of areas that teachers can get sub-certified in. There's 2 ways that teacher can get certified within the TIE realm. And the first one is a non-degree option. And if the teacher has 5 years of work experience in the last 8 years in that occupation, they qualify to be in an educator prep program for that year to work toward their certification. Now, on the flip side, the other option is if that teacher or if that person holds an associate's or bachelor's degree and they have 3 years of work experience within the last 8 years documented on the SOQ that the EPP approves, those teachers as well, those candidates as well can be approved to be in an EPP program to work toward their standard certification. Okay? So it's either 5 out of 8 or a 3 out of 8. And it's a lot to kind of digest, but please let us know if you have questions about hiring some of these teachers in those areas. The other qualifications for our trades and industrial teachers is they have to have some type of industry license, okay? The majority, let's say I have an auto tech teacher coming in, that auto tech teacher a lot of times is going to have an ASE certification. They're going to be a master mechanic a lot of times, and we can use that toward them becoming certified. So by the end of the certification year, they have to have that on file that they do hold some type of industry certification. The other option that they can do is there's what's called the NOCTI exam, which will take the place of a certification. So if they currently don't hold a certification, they have the whole school year to achieve that certification, and they could take that NOCTI exam sometime throughout the school year, pass it, and then that would meet the requirement for the certification there, okay? The other caveat is our cosmetology instructors have to have a cosmetology instructor license in order to teach that program there. Once they complete, as they work through their educator prep year, that probationary year, and they teach in that assignment for 1 year, they've got to pass the PPR exam. Our trades and industrial people, they do not have a content exam. They pass only the PPR exam. And usually that's going to be taken in the springtime for our teachers. And we encourage a lot of our teachers, if they don't hold a certification, to make sure they take care of that in the fall time.
I will say really quick on just to kind of give you the difference. So with trades and industrial education candidates, they come in with the work experience and licensure in lieu of a content exam. So if they fall under one of the TIE work approval areas and they come in with that licensure and that work experience, that's in lieu of their content exam. So the TIE PPR is different from the EC12 exam. So on the TIE candidates will take that number 270, and the difference in those two is it is going to be 6 through 12, and the EC 12 is all levels. And also on the TIE PPR, they're going to have questions that are specific to CTE, such as about advisory committees, the CTSOs. So they're going to have a little bit more specific to CTE in addition to those best teaching practices and, you know, the instructional pedagogy and everything else that is on that exam. So that's kind of the two differences there if you have teachers who are, you know, in that situation where they're taking that exam.
Now, going into our House Bill 2205, so this is what we were just talking about a little bit earlier. This is a way for the board of a school district to issue a permit for teachers. Okay? Within this presentation, I posted, and once again, you can find this on LiveBinder, I posted the link to the information that TEA has put out on the step-by-step directions for how to issue that district permit. Okay? So it talks about the fact that they can be non-core academic or non-core CTE courses. We'll talk about what that means here in just a few minutes. You'll see kind of just goes over some of the qualifications there. It also is going to be, it's also going to link to a document that is very similar to an SOQ, all right? And the teacher is going to fill that out. The district is going to take that, and basically the district is going to send that into TEA, or the commissioner in that case there, and the board will be able to then approve those teachers for certification.
So what I would say as far as reviewing credentials, I know we get a lot of phone calls about if we can review credentials, especially if they're wanting to do the HB 2205. So if you are not sure about qualifications or if the teacher would be the best fit for those non-core academic CTE courses, you know, check with your ESC personnel before you submit that to your school district. If you want to just make sure that, you know, you're in compliance and that the teacher is eligible, you know, to get for that specific certification area. So I would just say you can utilize us, all of us, as resources for that.
Before we move on to our next part, just looking at some of those non-core academic CTE courses, is there any questions in the audience about CTE and certification? Anything anybody want to add? All right, so moving on, we're going to look a little bit more at some specific CTE certification topics and get into those. All right, so for some of our classes in CTE, it is required that teachers meet highly qualified in the academic area of which that class is being offered. And if you look up here, you'll see a whole list of different classes and where they fit into each one of those academic areas. So if you're on your campus and you're thinking about rolling out medical microbiology, you have to then make sure that that teacher is highly qualified to teach science in order to offer that class and have that teacher teach that within your, for example, health science department. Okay? So you'll see there's a whole list of different areas within there, different classes. So since the teacher has to meet HQ status, and it is required that that class have a teacher that meets that HQ status for that academic, core academic area, these courses cannot be offered simply as an elective, but they have to be also offered as a credit in one of those academic areas. All right. Sometimes it is going to be both an elective and a core credit. Sometimes it's just going to be a core credit within those areas. Okay, so it just depends on how the campus sets it up. So in order for a CTE teacher to meet highly qualified status based on the No Child Left Behind Act, there's what's called the house rules. Okay, so there's a couple ways we can actually gauge whether that teacher is qualified to teach in those areas. And for that, the teacher has to hold at least a bachelor's degree. They have to have a full state certification, and there's a few ways that we can actually see that they are qualified to teach in that area. First off is that the district can actually go in and review their transcripts and make sure that they meet what's called the 24-12 rule. So 24 semester hours within that content area, with 12 of those being upper division. The other option is that teacher can challenge and pass the content exam for that. Once again, going back to my microbiology teacher, I could have maybe my health science teacher challenge that science test, pass it, and then they would be highly qualified to teach that class for the next school year. Or they can meet what's called the HOUSE, which is the High Objective Uniform Standard Evaluation. And this is for our experienced teachers only who do hold a standard certificate and 1 year of teaching experience. Let's look a little bit at both of these here, okay? So once again, we have to have that 1 year of teaching experience, and then on the house document, and I'll show you the example here in just a second, is that they have to have at least 24 points and at least 6 points in the subject area. So it's kind of an evaluative form. I've got, once again, another link on here. It takes you to that information. And you'll see that there is the house worksheet for secondary. And it's going to look a little bit like this. So it's a place to record those points and to see if they meet the transcripted credit and or they meet the different requirements for having some experience teaching within that area there. Okay, so that's all posted up there. Now, in order to determine the candidate's actual, what they're going to become highly qualified in, the process starts with what's called the CASA form. And the CASA form is a form to just kind of fill out and collect some of that data about what they're trying to get highly qualified in. Now, not always do you use that house form that I showed you. So if the teacher has already passed that content exam, the house form may not necessarily be needed in that case because they passed it at that point. So you don't have to use that. But if you do decide that we need to get those 24 points on paper and submit that to TEA or keep that in-house at the district, then that house form is a way to do that without having to have a degree in that specific science area or to pass that content exam. So there's a couple different options there in order to do that. In addition to that, teachers who then meet that highly qualified status, they do have to go through extra required training for those different areas to help them better put together their classroom so that they have good content in place. And in code, it just kind of talks about the fact that there is extra work that the teachers do need to do in order to get ready for that certification. And you'll also see it on the teacher assignment chart as well. It talks about the fact that there has to be TEA approved training done. Currently, there's a transition right now between the companies that actually host these classes. Before it was on Project Share. The contract with Project Share is no longer going, and it's now switching to a new platform. We don't know exactly what platform that's going to be yet, but hopefully in the near future we have some more information on that. If you have any questions about that, and in my presentation I've embedded the email for that, you can contact the NCLB email address at TEA for more information on how to do some of that.
Again, also utilize all of your ESC personnel. There's many, many years of experience in CTE across the state with everyone. So if you have any questions about that and want additional information, we just do the certification. So we do get a lot of phone calls from across the state. And because we also do a statewide program, so we're happy to help you guys. We'll pass out business cards, but utilize your local ESC service center in your regions to also help you with some of these questions.
Now, in addition to that, the last piece for our CTE specific topics is that for school districts that are going to be offering practicum and career prep courses, the teachers do have to go through additional training. It's called work-based learning training. And there's a couple ways that work-based learning training requirements can be met. The first one is that teachers can attend a face-to-face session, and you can contact your local ESCs to see when some of those courses are being offered. And the other option is to use the new online platform that was created for doing the WBL training. Okay? So there's a couple ways to do that and fulfill that requirement. Okay, so moving on to our program just a little bit and what we do for our teachers in our at Region 13. So just to tell you a little bit about our program, we started as kind of a grassroots effort in 2002, and it was kind of a way, a lot of people around our region were asking, hey, how can we get teachers certified? How can we put them through an alternative certification to work towards standard certification? And a board was put together to set up kind of a scaffold for the program in our regional area. So the bottom line was that the districts wanted options in different ways for their teachers to acquire those CTE certifications. Okay, so we wanted to create a program that was flexible for our teachers and allowed them to get the most current and up-to-date information on our on teaching as a whole. So alternative certification usually requires a bachelor's degree, with the exception of our TIE and health science candidates. There is some non-degreed options and associate's degree options. But one of the big things that the misnomers that came up is the teacher is not given an emergency certificate. The teacher is not given an alternative certificate. They, at the end of the educator prep year, that probationary year, they will be able to sit for their standard certification in that area. So within our program, so why is our program doing so awesome, and why are we so proud of what we're doing? Well, we have a lot of different levels of structure to help our teachers out. First off, we have what are called our cohort specialists. That's what Erica and I do. We work with our teachers in PD. We give them professional development, and we also are on the phones with them, sending them emails and sending them different things to help support them throughout the year and educate them on how to become teachers. We work with campus mentors. We have a really strong campus mentor system. We have field specialists that go out and meet our candidates throughout the school year and watch them in the classroom and give them feedback and work with you all to make sure that they are meeting the requirements of the program. And then we also have that industry support. So pulling from those teachers coming from different areas of industry in your area, we are actually able to increase that amount of support that we have within our regions. Okay. Most teachers complete this within 1 year. We have a very good high, or very successful passing rate at this point for our programs. And we follow the school year and make sure that we hold classes that are generally outside of the school day. So we have a mixed level of, so when we start to think about it, we have a mixed class of CTE areas. We have everything from health science to our trades and industrial to our business teachers. And one of our big things is trying to keep the program costs down for our teachers, because we all know that starting off at that kind of 0 or maybe 2-year pay grade is not great. So we want to offer them a good, cost-effective and flexible way to do that. We do a blended model. We use face-to-face training as well as online coursework. So we try and do both so that we can engage our teachers in different methods throughout the year. We use a lot of application-based program. We implement a lot of teaching strategies, and one of our big things is that we never do any busy work. Our goal is to help our teachers grow and increase the ability to incorporate tons of different teaching strategies into their lessons throughout the year. And as I mentioned, we have an excellent pass rate. So growing on that application-based system, one of the big things that we have been rolling out over the past year, and I think everybody got a bookmark with it, is our teacher toolkit. You'll see the blue bookmarks at your tables. Our teacher toolkit is really powerful. On this teacher toolkit, there is a list of all different types of teaching strategies that our teachers can implement right the next day into their lessons. Most of these teacher tools incorporate about a 1 to 2 minute video that the teachers can watch, and it gives them examples of how this is being implemented in the classroom, and quite a few of them as well have templates for running these assignments if a worksheet is needed in this case. We have lots of different tools. If you go to view all of our tools on here, that span everything from classroom management to closing activities, icebreakers, you name it. There's lots of different things that are in there. Your bookmarks have the website on there as well as a QR code, and I can't tell you how nice this is, especially if you're going around and watching your teachers. You see they're struggling implementing different types of strategies. This could be a good place to start, sit down with them and go through and find some strategies that could have worked for that lesson and then upcoming lessons as well.
Yeah, and again, this was actually developed by some colleagues in our educator preparation program at Region 13, and it's actually worldwide now. We actually have different countries that are contacting Region 13 that are utilizing the website for their teachers. So we were, Carrie and I were having breakfast with some administrators this morning, and we were talking about, you know, when you're doing walkthroughs or you're trying to get that teacher to you know, encourage them with some engagement strategies or helping them increase their engagement or instruction in the classroom and that time on task. That is a really great free resource. Lots of great ideas there. So definitely utilize that and provide any feedback on that if you need that as a resource.
And it's constantly growing. I know on there right now there might be a few more elementary options than secondary, and we're adding currently some more secondary options and videos in there. But I like to always tell our teachers that a lot of the things that are used at the elementary levels work just as well in our secondary classrooms, and we really try and push that within our classes. Even a lot of our motivation systems, they work very similar. We know that high schoolers love stickers, right? So when a high schooler gets a sticker just like an elementary kid, they get super, super excited. And it's just another way to kind of think about putting together some more engagement in there. As I mentioned, we have a very good overall passing rate over the past 10 years. We've been really knocking it home with some of that. We are former CTE teachers. I've come from the health science world and taught locally, and Erica had taught family consumer sciences, so we do offer that. And really it's a good place for you to bring your teacher so that they do get that specific CTE information within the programs. We do have a statewide presence, which is one of our big kind of crowning achievements over the last 10 years, is adding that part. Erica directs the statewide program. I actually work a little bit more closely with the Austin, but we do kind of work back and forth as we do some online trainings with our teachers as well and reach out to those statewide areas. But you can see anywhere there's a star, we have a area where teachers can meet and do their face-to-face trainings at, and work with other teachers. Go ahead.
So what's great about this, I think, is that we're also housed in other ESCs. So our classes are held at ESC service centers across the state. So for example, Carrie is in Pittsburgh, and so we have a site there, and so it's a great way for you to also become familiarized with your local ESC and then also receive instruction with Region 13. So that's another great, we're really trying to build those partnerships among the ESC personnel and, you know, trying to build that statewide presence. So if you have any questions about that, you can ask your ESC. But I mean, we're in Region 19, Region 8, Region 20. We're all over the place. So definitely utilize that as well.
Now, for our distance learning, it is going to be delivered, and Erica is in charge of that right now. It's going to be delivered via a two-way video conference. So it's really neat. There's a kind of a big TV screen, and we use some of our distance learning technology to be able to work directly with those teachers. We can do questions and answers and things like that. So there's a lot of different ways we can engage our teachers on that two-way video conference there. And then, of course, our on-site CTE facilitators that Erica has just mentioned, usually at a lot of our ESCs, they are there to help kind of run those programs. They're usually out in the field watching those teachers, and they're there as just some kind of a sounding board for those teachers to ask questions to, as well as us, who are going to be the cohort specialists for those different areas. Within Texas Administrative Code, we do have guidelines that we have to follow for our programs. I did link to all those if you want to sit down and take a good read tonight on Texas Administrative Code. But just to give you kind of a synopsis, we do cover a wide variety of curriculum that fits within all state requirements. Our biggies that we go to is we really look at that classroom environment and behavior management piece. We look at a lot of that instructional delivery, that instructional design, and then we spend a lot of time on professionalism. So those are our big four domains, and then everything kind of fits within those domains within our program. Also, we have to meet requirements of having 300 hours of clock hours of training that we do document throughout the year. That comes from a pre-service training of 80 hours. We do some test prep, especially for the PPR test. That can be a little challenging for some of our teachers. And then we do 50 hours. There has to be, the teachers have to also partake in 50 hours of TEA-approved continuing education units that they do turn into us at the end of the year. We do have a late hire clause that is built into the calendar year, and I'll show you kind of what that looks like. But basically, for our people who are hired kind of early summer, generally they begin at the end of July and into August. We have that 80-hour, 2-week boot camp training that we do with them and get them all prepped up so that they are ready to start with their school districts in August. For our late hires that are hired after we start that boot camp or in between the boot camp camp in the school year. We do have a late hire boot camp that those candidates do attend, and they come in for about 4 days, and we do some kind of a very basic sort of fast-paced training to make sure that they are comfortable in managing their classrooms. Then September through June, we are offering face-to-face classes, generally 2 times per month. We generally do 1 weekday class in the evening and 1 class on Saturday. And then throughout the year, we are constantly following up with them in the classroom to make sure that they are doing okay. And then finally in June, hopefully they are recommended for teacher certification, that standard certificate at that point. And in the summer, we do encourage them to go to other professional development. Okay, so that's a big part for us. One of the big things, you'll see my little spinning arrow there, is that, oh, it didn't pop up. The screen got cut off. That's all right. That the teachers are going to be, the first thing we look for is that the teachers do need to be employed by a school district and then apply to the CTE program. This could actually go either way. They can actually apply first and then find a job, or they can find a job first and then apply. We usually encourage teachers to apply first because then they can take that nice little certificate into the interviews and say that, hey, I do meet the requirements to teach in this area. So it just helps out a little bit more when they go to interview, but sometimes it doesn't work that way. We have our pre-service training, our internship training, our state exams throughout the year, and then finally our recommendation for certification. Okay. On your manila sheets, you'll see, or excuse me, the ivory sheets that we passed out to you, you'll see some of our program costs. It's kind of outlined there as to how much it does run throughout the year. This slide got a little bit cut off there. I don't know why it's all weird and out of place. But on your sheets, you'll see that. You'll notice there is a little bit of a price difference between the Austin cohort and the distance cohort. The main reason is it does cost extra money to run those other sites and then have extra staff support the technology that we do need for that program.
So just to mention really quick, because, you know, a lot of our teachers are transitioning in, we talked about retaining and recruiting those health science teachers. But if you're able to and you're thinking about next year, you're trying to build a program, think about incorporating, if you're trying to hire a teacher who needs certification, is going to be in an educator prep program, think about possibly maybe providing or paying for that certification, because that can also be a big win. If you have a teacher who's coming in that needs an educator preparation program, you know, utilizing your monies to help pay half of their program or all of their certification program, that's a great way to also, you know, with that recruiting piece as well. A lot of districts will help their candidates out with that. If you're able to do that, I would say, especially if you're in larger cities, that's a great tool.
Now, in addition to our program fees and all the things we offer, there is some other fees that are associated with certification during the year. There is the fee for a probationary certificate, criminal history checks that the teachers have to go through, state exams, and then finally the standard certificate at the end of the year. So there are a few other additional fees that are worked in there. And a lot of our other teachers who are adding exams or certification areas and stuff, they also have to pay for those as well. Our website and where we host all of our information on certification and our program is at teachakid.com. It's pretty easy. We have a lot of information there. You'll see down in the bottom left there, there's the career and technology, the career and technical tile there. It actually takes you to all the information for our website and just kind of runs you through everything that those teachers will be doing throughout the year. And then also it does have some cheat sheets there on certification that you could use in addition to the ivory sheets that we passed out as well. Okay. Really at this point, we just wanted to open the floor for questions about anything you may have. We're going to also be over here answering questions at the table for a little bit, but is there any questions for the good of the group that anybody would like to prompt?
And one more thing, you also have a brochure on there as well if you want some more information about our program specifically.
You mentioned in the PowerPoint that anyone going through the program would apply for standard certification in June. Many of our districts are trying to make personnel decisions like in April around contract time. Is it possible for students to test early if they are...
Before then, but because they have to complete all the block hours and everything,
right,
they won't be recommended for standard until our last class,
okay,
which is the end of May.
Right.
Yeah, they'll be recommended for standard at the beginning of June, but they'll test if content testing, business ag, they take it in the fall.
Okay.
And everybody takes the PER early spring.
Okay.
So their tests will be taken and passed before March.
It's just the recommendation.
That's,
Okay.
yeah, so thanks for that clarification.
And some of our teachers, especially our business teachers, some of our ag teachers, family consumer sciences, and tech ed, I think I hit them all, they can also take a pre-admission exam as well if they wanted to before they even start our program. So that's one less thing they have to do throughout the year. So if we have a teacher that applies, a new candidate that applies in the winter time or the springtime before that next school year comes up and hiring is happening, we actually encourage some of those teachers to study up and take that pre-admission exam so that their next fall is a lot easier.
Wow, that's good. You guys are knowledgeable. You've learned a lot the past few days. That's awesome.
You're tired too, I'm sure. It's a combination of the two. But we'll be here for a little bit answering questions.
Well, once again, I think you can see that our ESC folks really have resources that are available and good for you. And this is an excellent program, and there are others out there, but we've been impressed with what we've seen from what ESC 13 does. So good resources for you.